Welcome to the Real Advisor Podcast. TRAP. Trap. Please follow us and join in the conversation on Twitter @Advisor Podcast, where you can suggest ideas and themes you'd like the Trap team to discuss. Also remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a 6 out of 5-star review on iTunes. Doing all this really helps us, which means we can do more to help you. Now let's head over to the studio for the latest pile of trap.
Yes, indeed, dear Trappist. Welcome back to episode 10 of the Real Advisor Podcast, TRAP Trap. And welcome indeed to a happy new year, a shiny, brand new 2023. A new year that's just been driven off the forecourt. It's gleaming. There are no dinks or dunks. You can see a reflection in the hubcaps. Everything is sparkling and lovely. We all know in about 11 months' time, we'll be driving around an old banger of a 2023 with lots of bumps, rust, McDonald's packets wedged down the passenger seats, sweet wrappers over there. But for the moment, we're driving off in a beautiful new year. Joining me on this journey for the next 12 months or so, if we last that long, are the other members of the Trap team, the Trap Pack, the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse. Alan Smith, Carl Widger, Andy Hart. Gentlemen, we have a show packed full of absolutely nothing. So let's start unpacking it straight away. Andy Hart, giving us a bit of a timestamp. Real life planning outcomes and your friend life assurance. Give us a little tale, Andy.
Is that what we're kicking off with? Happy New Year, everybody. It was just a follow up. Obviously, we talk about real life client outcomes. So a friend of mine unfortunately passed away about 4 months ago. I spoke about it on my podcast, and I recently caught up with his widow, which sounds a bit weird calling her that. She's a good friend of mine. And I was the only person to have sold him some life insurance. I sold him life insurance when he bought his first home, and I was new to this business, 2006. It was an okay policy, and I guesstimated how much the payout would be because it was to cover a repayment mortgage. Long story short, she contacted the provider, and it's actually twice as much as I very loosely told her what I thought it would be. And it's landed at a time that's just massively helped her and given her a lot of thinking time. I know we know the benefits of good insurance and good planning, but it's great to see, the outcome of it. And as Nick Murray says, life insurance is a love letter to your family once you're gone. And when that money lands, it's an enormous thud of a love letter. So yeah, that's my update on that. Long story short, the payout was twice as much as I loosely told her it's going to be. And obviously that's clear cash money that she can live off and spend, and obviously help the kids out and all the other stuff. She had an enormous New Year's Eve party, and obviously money was no problem. I popped in for a few hours, and there was a lot going on. So yeah, all good. That's my
it's interesting news. Isn't it, in our profession, that I just think in my experience a lot of that basic protection stuff, life assurance and critical illness policies, has kind of gone by the wayside. We've become wealth managers now, money managers, and so it seems to be financial planners. I think it's a useful reminder that the fundamentals, the building blocks of a sensible financial plan are, protection against bad surprises, nasty experiences, things that your friends, family are going through. So good reminder, Mr. Hart. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, and a job well done, Andy. Okay. Thank you for that, my friend. So it is the start of the new year, and at this time of year, what do we normally have? We have these things called some of us have these things called resolutions. Mr. Smith, actually, Mr. Widger, let's bring you into the conversation, Carl. New Year's resolutions, and then we'll get Alan's take on this as well.
Happy New Year. The usual, the new me. My car is going to be shining by the end of the year as well, Nick. It's going to be clean the whole way.
Okay, good man.
So I have a number of resolutions. I've actually, this morning, just come off a Zoom call with our mutual friend, Justin King, who went through some coaching with me, and I would highly recommend people go and do the same and engage Justin for some coaching. I think it's really good. One of my main goals for the year is to finally, for good, kick the smoking habit, which I know is very, very stupid and is totally and utterly illogical. But I've engaged in that habit for several years now. I haven't given them up for a good while. So anyway, Justin has given me some help on that. So part of my plan to kick that habit is to do dry January, which I'm kind of actually looking forward to because November and December were full on. Let's just put it that way. And I've also, for the first time ever, signed up for a half marathon in early March, which I have been doing probably not as much training as I should be doing, but yet I was out, stop laughing, I was out a few times over December, and I have been out a few times since. Indeed, part of the training plan is to run a 10K this evening. So that's what I have to look forward to after this. But yeah, look, I just think, isn't it, it's nice to be able to, and it's only a day. It's a date in the calendar, right? It's just another day. But it is nice as humans to be able to have this reset or refresh button, and to kind of, I think, go at the new year with kind of a new sense of gusto and energy, and I'm genuinely really excited for the year ahead. Great plans professionally, but the thing I'm really focusing on this year is me and putting on my own oxygen mask first and looking after myself. And I know that everything flows if I do that. So I've some nice plans with my kids later on in the year as well. So yeah, I think I sent in a message into our group there a day or two ago. I'm planning with purpose, and I really am making sure that I'm putting in lots of me time in my diary, which I've neglected over the last while, which is a stupid thing to do. But, you know, we live and breathe the goals, dreams and aspirations talk to our clients. So I'm going to do that for myself, and I'm going to walk the walk as well as talk the talk in 2023. Alan, anything? We've had a few conversations on WhatsApp. I know you have some similar plans.
Yeah. One thing about this profession that we operate in is quite a social kind of community, isn't it? And my God, we've been very sociable, the four of us and a few others, over the past couple of months. And I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you, but I was kind of limping towards the finish line of the year. It was a busy December. We had, team and colleague Christmas do's and lunches and drinks and dinners and all sorts of things going on. We had a couple of client things I went to. Us lot got together, and it takes a toll. I mean, we're not getting any younger. I'm definitely not getting any younger, and it takes a toll. And I was looking forward to this time of year. I want to give a shout out to my friend and colleague, Mr. Nick Lincoln, who lasted until January the 2nd. On his dry Januaries, he sent an image around with a large glass of red to say he's hit a few road bumps on the dry January. 24 hours into it,
I tried a dry Tuesday last November. And
it was the worst day of your life, wasn't it?
Oh, it never ended. It never ended.
I'm taking it to a new level. I do think, honestly, I'll just speak for myself. I think this can be quite a challenging job. I think it can be quite stressful at times. And I do think, in my experience, I need to be at my kind of best game. So I've done dry January for as long as I can remember. And I've just liked it. I like to benefit from it. It's just a sort of, it's almost a bit of a challenge. Can you go 4 whole weeks without a drop of alcohol? Wow, amazing. And in the last couple of years, I've actually extended it. I've gone into February as well. Eventually, sort of social things catch up with you. But I am going, and this is I stand by to I'll get abuse on this. There's a thing called monk mode. All the cool kids are doing this now. Go monk mode. So I'm going to live like a monk. What does that mean? So obviously, no booze. I am eating healthy. I'm intermittent fasting, which I've gone on and off for. So I'm just going down this track of OMAD, it's called, 1 meal a day. And, trying to focus on exercise, getting my 10,000 steps in every day, trying to focus on rest and recovery and sleep, getting up really early in the morning and doing, just focusing on creative work, I would call it, for 2 or 3 hours every morning. And I reckon, I just think that I need to get momentum in the year. If I have a month of really just focused creativity, stay out of trouble, just be healthy, good rest, but do a solid day's work and do that consistently, day after day for a month. I think it will set me up for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think as well, Alan, the key from listening to what you're saying there, and hopefully from what I've said as well, is that you're kind of excited by those plans. Yeah. So like that means it's not that much of a chore. It's like, yeah, geez, I can't wait to roll this on a couple of weeks. How great am I going to be feeling?
It's like a labor of love, Carl. I just know that there are times in my life when I feel really up for it, and it is. There's no doubt about it. And I think as I do get older, physiology is important. Just looking after myself, as you rightly said, putting your own oxygen mask on first. You can't serve your clients, your colleagues, your family if you're not feeling 100%. And I know that when I've been eating unhealthy and I haven't had rest and so on, I'm just not on my best. And so those little jobs and tasks are just like, put them off for another day. But I just want to get after it. Just get starting first thing in the morning, crack on. And as I say, consistently, day after day, week after week, doing that for at least a month. I think it just moves you forward. I think you do need to be something of a, use the phrase, corporate athlete. Somewhat, you've just got to just look after yourself. It's true, I know. A corporate athlete.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm looking at the four of us as corporate athletes.
Corporate.
I like it.
Okay, I think we've done this one into the ground. New Year's resolutions. Let's see. I'll speak to you guys on February the 1st, and we'll see.
You can speak to us on January the 9th if you want.
Let me throw my 10 pence in, Nick. Let me throw my 10 pence in.
Yeah. Of course.
So my sort of business New Year's resolutions is I'm just going to try and guard my diary a lot better than I did last year. I mean, booking telephone appointments is just doing my absolute head in now. I just want to try and avoid them as best I can. Booking in a phone call like next Thursday at 10:30 for 15 minutes to talk to someone, it just disrupts my whole flow of my day. So I'm really trying to guard my diary very aggressively. I'm also trying to, I get so many needy emails from people. I just haven't got the headspace to deal with it. So I'm just going to have to just start archiving more and more emails. Another thing that I've noticed recently in the business world is I seem to get a lot of emails from personal assistants, executive assistants. It is excruciating when you deal with these people. They're so organized and they ask you so many questions and they're so needy. And when you're dealing with someone on behalf of someone, it's such a nightmare. I get emails from a PA asking 5 questions that I know the person they're asking them on behalf knows, but they're just doing such a great job to be thorough about what they're asking. It's excruciating. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. And the other thing I'm going to do personally, I'm just going to go to the gym more. I run quite a lot, so I'm doing sort of too much cardio. I run probably 10 to 15 times a month, so I need to go to the gym a lot more. So I'm going to try and go to the gym at least twice a week. I basically just need to build more muscle. So that's my tweaks and changes to my behaviour and work life. So over to you, Nick. Anything to throw in finally?
No, I don't really do New Year's resolutions. No
tweaks and changes. You went to the gym, didn't you, 3 days ago?
I mean, I think when you're near, I don't. If I sound perfection, it sounds vain. But when you're near perfect, just leave alone.
Just
walk away and be grateful for what you've already got. Just make what you've got a bit better.
All right,
that's what I do every year. Okay, Now then, we've had some rambling about New Year's resolutions. Hopefully the Trappists are still with us. We need to move on to the meat and potatoes, and this is a subject that is a bit of a dry one, but we can't ignore it. And normally on the Real Advisor podcast, we do try and talk about more eternal subjects around practice management, human behaviours and so forth, how we can help nudge people to do the right things. But sometimes we've got to address the regulatory elephant in the room when the unemployed in suits come up with their next big thing. And the next big thing in the UK came out last year. For our overseas listeners, you might want to zone out now, perhaps, but I wouldn't do necessarily, because what happens here, especially to the Trappists in Ireland and South Africa, what happens in the UK, in one form or another, tends to migrate over to your financial services worldscapes as well. So what's happening in the UK now, it wouldn't surprise me if some form of it came into your world a little bit down the line. And what we need to talk about is consumer duty. Now, if you have a regulator that needs great big projects to work on, it's going to invent great big projects to work on. And I'll have a bit of a vent, and then I'll tell you how I have dealt with consumer duty and how I have a point of difference on it with Mr. Smith. So let's start. I think consumer duty is a pile of bullshit. And it's the latest pile of bullshit from a regulator that doesn't know anything about what we do, or what real financial planning is. But it is what it is, and we have to deal with it. And for those listeners who aren't familiar, I'm sure you all are, but there are some broad outlines of what the regulator wants Consumer Duty to deliver. Ending off rip-off charges and fees, make it as easy to switch or cancel products as it was to take them out. I mean, even that, it's not easy to take them out in the first place. Who said that taking out financial services products is easy? It's way easier already to cancel them, because taking them out is a complete pain in the arse. If you want to take out a credit card or a loan, you crack on. You can do it in 30 seconds online. So that's a mute point anyway. Provide helpful and accessible customer support. Provide timely and clear information. Well, this is a regulator that makes us give clients rainforests of stuff they're not going to read. So, look in the mirror, guys. Firms should enable clients to make good financial decisions rather than bearing key information in lengthy terms and conditions. Again, provide products and services that are right for their customers. That is obviously right. I have a point with that, because I think the regulator still thinks we're brokers and that everything is about product. All right. And for every client, there is the perfect product that will fit them like a bespoke suit. It'll just drape over the client beautifully. No wrinkles, no saggy bits. It's the perfect. That doesn't exist. What we do is as much art as science. We try and find the right products for clients, but what does right mean? And focus on the real and diverse needs. Give me strength. Diverse needs of their customers, including those in vulnerable circumstances at every stage and every interaction. So those are the kind of broad precepts behind Consumer Duty. Lots and lots of words, as ever with this kind of stuff, and very hard to nail down actually what any of it really means. But a firm, to sum up what Consumer Duty is about, as far as I can see it, a firm must act to deliver good outcomes for its clients, act in good faith, avoid foreseeable harm, and enable and support to pursue financial objectives for the clients. Wow, that's woolly, isn't it? So I kind of stuck, I think, along with Andy to a degree, we kind of just ignored this for most of last year, but we couldn't do by October because we had to have a Consumer Duty plan in place. So I thought, okay, I'm going to cross this Rubicon and get it done. And there's a guy that we know, certainly a guy I know, who runs a really good, again, micro business in Hatfield, up the road from me. But he really goes for this stuff. He'll do it properly. And I thought, well, he's also called Nick. And I thought Nick will have done his Consumer Duty plan. So I had to look at his and adapted it to myself. And he had been through it all. He's got all the various points that need to be addressed in the different sections. The client proposition. What's the next thing? The investment proposition, how you handle new inquiries, how you give advice on products. And I went through it all. And actually, having done it all, and I kind of intuited this, I think it's already baked in. I think the outcomes that the FCA want consumers to get from their Consumer Duty program are certainly baked into what I do. And I don't see it as a big problem. There are bits and bobs that I'll need just to address and just maybe to finesse on. But I don't think for the one-man band whose entire business is predicated around having successful client outcomes, because his clients, to be blunt, his clients are his or her living. Yeah. And therefore it's totally aligned with having happy customers, happy clients. I think Consumer Duty is baked into everything that we do. I have one within that, all of that. The FCA keeps on banging about how we, as the seller of advice, have to demonstrate value. Only a monopoly provider of a service that we have to buy could come up with such stupidity. Through history, the seller names the cost and the purchaser determines the value. The seller does not determine value, FCA. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say whether my clients are getting good value. It's for the clients to determine. But everything else I will take on board. And I think I'm there with it. I really do. I went through my Consumer Duty plan. I didn't see anything. I thought, crikey, I'm not doing that. I'm in big trouble. Because it's just second nature. It's like breathing to me, the things the FCA want me to do. I've been doing them for bloody years. Mr. Smith, I know that you've done it because you are a multi-RI business. And you've embraced this and you've got it all in place in time, and you've got the difference to me is where you've got a board and you've got people to report to, and with Consumer Duty, everybody has to buy in at the exec level, whether you're regulated or not. It's got to be like a cultural shift from the top. You put a tweet out last year, you put out somewhere in social media, but I think it was a tweet saying, we've just done our Consumer Duty plan. Cannot see how these small or micro businesses can have any chance of keeping on top of this, or words to that effect. I really disagree. I think the micro businesses are the ones who are going to find it easiest. I think those small IFA firms who are perhaps the old style 3 plus a half, who don't do financial planning, who use DFMs, who put the product at the center of everything without doing much financial planning, and who and perhaps have RIs who all do in different investment propositions for people.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Miggins will get one client response from one advisor, investment response from one advisor, a different investment response from another. If I was running one of those businesses, I would be absolutely wetting the bed. But I don't think for the micro RI who does full fat financial planning, it's a problem. But go on, disabuse me.
I think you're right, actually, and I've looked at this since. I mean, I like you. I didn't spend much time considering it until I had to. When was it? October last year, and I sort of sat down and we had a couple of meetings here internally, and we got some external people come in, and I thought, holy crap! I mean, there was our own. You had to deliver your implementation plan by October. You don't have to complete all the work until I believe it's the end of July this year. But I had a look at it, and I thought, I mean, our implementation plan is 31 pages long. There are, just taking a note, there are 142 action points on it. Now, we're a bit of a bigger firm than yours is, Nick, but we're not a huge organization. We've got a limited amount of resource to do that. And I had a look at it, and I thought, holy crap, if we're supposed to do all this in the time scale, then what is this, literally a one man or one woman band supposed to do whose main day job is showing up and seeing their clients? Because you're going to have to, your weekends are going to be packed. I've had more time to reflect and look at this, and I've recognized the term proportionate, because there's a huge number of things that you probably won't have to do. Just say not applicable, or we don't do this. My overall view is this is a good thing. It's a good thing for the people on this, the three of us which are impacted by it. Carl, at some point in the future, might be, because to me, it's a consolidation of all the kind of rules, the prod rules and RDR and TCF and all that stuff that's come in over the years, and it's summarized it. And I think if you are complying with this stuff, you're running a good business. Bottom line, you've got all your checks and measures in place. You are reviewing things. The value for money thing is another. I think it plays into our hands, frankly. If we can demonstrate value for money all day long, whereas the sort of firms that you described, Nick, are going to struggle a bit more. And I think also the larger brands, the larger firms, some of the firm that shall not be mentioned, Nick, play the jingle.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Yeah, I think demonstrating value when you're charging, 2.5% a year, and you've got huge exit charges and penalties and so versus the market, you're going to struggle. I think without overdoing it a bit, I think the success of this huge piece of legislation that impacts every intermediary and every, as they call it, manufacturer or product provider, it affects the entire sector. The success of this will be demonstrated by how organizations like St. James's Place and others react and how it will be dealt with. Because unless firms like this significantly change their proposition, their model, their exit charges, then it's been a waste of time, frankly. So overall, it's a bit of work. What it does is it makes us, it just makes sure that we're running a really good business. We've ticked all the boxes. We've got access. As you say, Nick, most of us have got all this stuff and these checklists and these forms and stuff, but is it immediately accessible? Is it reviewed as often as it should be? It's professionalizing the industry a bit more. So yeah, I don't think it has huge impact on firms like us. But there's other parts of the industry that I have to say, frankly,
without a doubt. But the time spent on it already is a sunk cost that somebody's going to pick up somewhere, and it's either going to be you with reduced earnings or the client with increased. All these things come with a time cost. The fact that we're doing this already, and it's like Nick, document how you breathe in and out. Okay, if I have to, I'll do it. I'll give you a checklist. I breathe it in, and the oxygen goes through my lungs, and then it's my blood, and then I breathe out, and that's carbon, whatever. It's like,
right. But
you know what I mean?
if it's a bit like when the retail distribution review came in, which interestingly was 10 years ago, almost to the day, I think, is that the whole industry improved a bit. We got a bit more professional. People did have to do a few exams. Traditional commission models were put away. So I think if this is another step in the right direction, if it reflects better on you, if more people seek your services because of identified, this seems to be a increasingly more professional sector, then it is better for all of us. So I've kind of come full circle. I've gone from this is this horrific piece of work to say, yeah, it is a bit like breathing in and out, but if it gives us a bit of a reminder as a business and makes sure we have our ducks in a row. But what do you think, Andy?
Yeah, the sharks will obviously usually navigate all obstacles. Good point you made, Alan. What noticeable difference will we see from not just financial advice businesses? I know this is a financial advice podcast, but everyone involved in any advice to clients, any selling of financial products to clients is caught up by this, from the banks to the DFMs to everybody. So that's going to be quite interesting. Yeah, I've gone through the whole process like Nick mentioned with my compliance consultants and gone through it all. The good news is a lot of these roads, again, are leading to proper financial planning, laying out the client's goals in context. So again, it's just as Nick says, it's all the good stuff that we should already be doing, but it's just going to give people a bit more of a nudge to it. That's my 2 pence on it. So back to you, Nick, maybe, unless Carl's got anything to say.
Yeah, look, I'm a very interested listener to all of this stuff, and obviously you guys have been talking about this for a little bit. I suppose when RDR was introduced in the UK, my hope was that something similar would be introduced in Ireland, because only people who are actually adding value would be able to survive in that kind of a scenario. Unfortunately, even though Metas was out ahead of the curve and trying to set ourselves up for that eventuality, it actually hasn't happened. However, the wheel is slowly turning. I would just listening to you guys, I think you're kind of all on the same page, and I think you've all nearly come to the same conclusion, that if you're doing real financial planning, you're doing most of this stuff already. And yeah, I get it's a bit of a pain having to write it down and document it all. But I think, corporate governance can only be a good thing, and it will weed out a lot of the people who shouldn't be doing the business. However, Alan, your point about St. James's Place and exit fees or whatever, I think demonstrating value, marketing spin can do that all day long. So I'm not sure it's going to change much there. But look, in terms of making what we do more professional, and if it brings more people around to real financial planning in the UK and then in Ireland, and I do see through this podcast, I'm talking to an awful lot more people in Ireland, an awful lot more people who are seeing the light and going, yeah, real financial planning is where it's at. I would think it's a good thing. I genuinely hope that we do get some sense of this kind of stuff from our regulator in Ireland. I think it can only be a good thing. I understand it's it's a time suck, but we appointed a head of compliance here in Metis a couple of years ago, and it's one of the best things we ever did. And I think corporate governance can only professionalize your firm, and it can only make for a better client's experience ultimately. Okay. So therefore, That's a good thing.
Good points. I'm just going to come back quickly on a couple of things, and if I can, because I think they're quite important. We had RDR and we had all these qualifications, and still you get the rogues. If you think we've never had more regulation on the books in the history of human existence, and still there are rogues. The trouble is the rogues will always be rogues, and the good guys have to do more and more of this crap all the time. And that's
Nick,
what
Nick,
is
there are statistically fewer rogues, I would say, than there was. I mean, I've been in this industry a long time. Bit by bit. If you just make it more, because as you say, we just got to document breathing in and out that you're doing anyway. But those who are not breathing in and out, those are going to start. Comes a point where people, it's just harder. If the whole sector, look, you've got the legal profession that's been doing what they do for literally hundreds of years. Ours is a very new profession, but they've been doing it for hundreds of years. There are still dodgy lawyers out there, but there are fewer of them. There are fewer dodgy financial planners. Bit by bit, this does weed out the cowboys. There will always exist. There will always be somebody who gets around it, but I believe there are fewer of them now than there were.
Okay. And my second point was, and I'm not knocking SJP for this because this is how they work. If you think this is going to get rid of exit penalties on St. James's Bonds pensions, it won't happen. So what's the point? Okay, right. I think we've done that I hope the Trappists, you've got something. I know we're all grappling with this, and of course, having a plan and implementing it by July this year, it's only the first stage, because then there'll be a consumer duty review, and they'll be going around saying, right, we want to see your plan. We're going to come into your offices and or send us a digital link to your consumer. There'll be follow-ups. There'll be ripples going forward. Okay, interesting. Interested to hear your view as well, Carl. In the show notes, you said we didn't have the balls to do RDR. You were far more diplomatic about it when speaking about it there, my friend. Good work.
Thanks for sharing that private message.
I think we can get away with that.
He doesn't miss
Don't
a
share
bit.
any more. Don't share any more, Nick.
No. Look, I've been vocal about this. I've mentioned it on this podcast. RDR is the only way we should be going here. There are certain things changing here that are, we're headed in that direction. It's just way too slow. But yeah, I'm urging our regulator to bring it in.
I'm interested in what Nick and Alan think about this, but I've been in this business, I was going to say only for 20 years, but I think RDR had the biggest impact in this profession in shaping it. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think so.
There's no other legislation that comes close to it in terms of one sort of sweeping on one particular day. You could introduce it. If you remember what happened, they banned commission, traditional commission. Now that's a whole other story, and we're probably going to talk about it a bit later on. But what it moved to, 3+1 commission to 3+1 fee. But it did. There were some people. I know some people who left the industry because they couldn't. This is not a story.
Grab yourself a drink.
It's not a story.
A very long drink. It's story time with Alan Smith.
You're too trigger happy. You're too trigger happy with that, Nick. There is no story. It's just
because he has another one later on.
Maybe.
Alan, you mentioned 3+1. Remember, bonds was 8%, and the client didn't know what they're paying. I've been out many a beers
8%.
with older advisors. Yeah. And they say to me, Andy, I built a mansion on 8% that the client didn't see, as they swig their champagne.
But you were saying, Alan, you knew people that were on the old model. Were you going to say they left when RDR came in? Is that your point?
Well, no, there was that. I think one of the things was, again, we've touched on this in the past, and often as this podcast evolves, there'll be sort of recurring themes and subjects that keep coming back. And one of them is about qualifications. I know you and Andy is sort of anti-chartered, but RDR introduced what it still is called level 4, and that was too much for some people. I knew some people said, "Nah, I can't do it."
Yeah.
So they left. So yes, it was a significant piece of legislation, and because I've been in this business a long time, I've seen them all. I remember when commission disclosure was brought. I was not an advisor then, but it was going to you had to actually tell your customers, your clients, how much you were earning. Piece of advice. It was just shocking. I mean, when I was working for a product provider, I used to speak to my IFAs, and they were all just freaking out about it. How can I possibly tell my customers what I'm going to earn from it? And then you had, of course, the commission disclosure on quotations, which often would get dropped off mysteriously removed from the stapling at the back of the thing.
No. I when I was a broker consultant, I used to deal with at least one IFA who would just rip off the final page. Yeah. It was okay, whatever. If you can live
You said
yourself.
at least one, Nick. I thought you were going to say at least one didn't rip off the back page.
Well, not that bad. But commission disclosure in 93/94, because I just joined then as a callowed 7-year-old. It was like, now it's just like, it's so automatic, isn't it? It's just, you don't even, Well, in the old days, we got paid commission, and no one, people knew. But pre-1994, you didn't have to disclose it. It's just like, wow, different world.
I think the two themes are we're just becoming more transparent and better qualified, which is great. They're two big things that we're very keen on. But then it overcorrects, doesn't it? So then now, the disclosure and transparency is like the client's thinking, why do I need to, I get it, Andy, we're in. Anyway, all good. Long story.
My final point on that is there is potentially good news in this, right? For us who are already set up and in business, is that it's a barrier to entry. It's another barrier to entry. So is that the regulators surely don't want that advice gap we've spoken about before.
They don't care about the advice gap, Carl. They don't care about the advice gap. Everything don't look at what people say. Look at what they do. Everything that they do broadens this so-called advice gap.
Right,
Yeah.
but I think about this, and there's all the comparisons with sport, for example, and it's like football or rugby, and knowing the offside rule or something like that. You can use it to your advantage. I've often thought about compliance, and everyone I spoke to would say, "Oh," and they were just moaning, "Bloody regulators, bloody compliance." And I thought, if I can get a step ahead of it, if I can understand like the rules of the game, and I can optimize it the way that then you're either, I agree with you, Carl, if it's making life difficult for everyone else, and we've just going to spend a bit of time and attention to make it better or smoother, that's a competitive advantage for us. And that's the way I treat these things. I huff and puff like everyone else does, but I think, right, you either play around, understand the offside rule, or don't play the game. That's the way I see this. Have you done it to death, Nick?
My final point on this. I got a final point on this. A very old, wise financial advisor who I often moan to about this profession and all the things coming in. You're probably going to take the mick out of me for saying this, but he said the way you got to look at it, Andy, isn't it amazing that thorns have roses? Isn't it terrible that roses have thorns? It's the way you look at these things that will, dictate how you deal with it. And that's it.
Yeah, stick to the magic mushrooms, my friend. Okay, that does kind of lead on to our next point. So we were talking there about fees and how we get paid and commission disclosure. And one of the great questions we have from our last Christmas Q&A special, we couldn't quite address because it was such a meaty question, asked by a good friend of the show, Dan the Chin Weston, who's on Twitter as @MCF Planning, Mother Charlie Foxtrot Planning. And I'll read it out, and then, Carl, I think you need to have first dibs at this, my friend. So Dan asked, currently having another look at our fee proposition, mulling over a hybrid model, i.e. fixed options for planning and then a lower percentage for running the investments. Also, why bother with initial fees, which could be friction to bring on a client, when the long-term planning fees are more important to the business? What are your thoughts? And Carl, what do you have to say on that, my friend?
The first thing I have to say is Dan is much more interesting and much more fun in person. But yeah, look, it's an interesting question, and it's one that we've grappled with at Meta since we started in 2014. I know everyone here has grappled with it at some level, and we've gone through a number of variations and versions of it. The first point is whatever fee structure you settle on, you have to be very comfortable yourself that it is something that works for you and your firm. And that sounds like a very obvious one, but we've had fee structures before that we weren't necessarily comfortable with, that we didn't feel was right for our business or whatever. So that's the first point I'd make. And the reason I'm making that point is, when you're talking about doing, a planning fee and then another fee for implementation of investment management, for me, there are no right or wrong answers, I feel here, right? But for me, that seems to add complexity. And it seems to, I'm not sure would the clients in general understand it and get it, and would they be able to very quickly come to what's the amount that I'm going to be charged here, and is that value for money? So for me, keeping it as simple as you can, as understandable for clients straight up, is really, really important. So for us, we charge a fee for the plan itself, right? But that's a once-off fee for the plan itself. And then we have a trail fee, as you'd know, right? So, and that depends on the level of the assets being invested. All of this is on our website, so anyone can log on and see what we charge. But for the meaty stuff, it's a 0.5% trail. The thing for us in Ireland is that we disclose that straight up, tell our clients all of the time, and as you know, we're being paid a 0.5%, and the clients are like, I'm paying Metas an extra 0.5%, where in actual fact, it's the exact same as the product sellers are charging them, just they're not disclosing exactly what they're being charged. So So for me, I think, kick it around. Try and, do variations of it. See how it feels in your client meetings. See how the clients are reacting. But you probably do need to come to something that you can settle on for the long term. And that was one thing that we struggled with, being perfectly honest. But we've settled on a fee structure now. We've been at it for maybe 4 years. Everybody knows it. We're very comfortable with it. It just streamlines our business, and everybody knows exactly what our charging structures are. But I know people are different, and I know Alan is on the fixed fee model. We're on the trail model. I wouldn't have any problem if our regulator said you have to go to fixed fees. I go, fine, no problem at all, because we'll just demonstrate exactly the value we add for the same kind of numbers. The one issue I do see with the fixed fees is, I like the idea that when assets are rising, the client is happy and our fee income is rising also. And when markets are, say, struggling like they did last year, that our income is down. So we're in the struggle with our clients, and we're looking to the long term all of the time. And I know it's a simplistic view. I know Alan disagrees strongly with it, but I actually think it does align, what we're trying to do together. So that's one of the reasons I like it. But having said that, I would have no issue. And I've listened to Alan, and probably every second time myself and Alan have this discussion, I'm kind of with Alan. I go, yeah, that all totally makes sense. And then I come away, no, look, what we have is very, very easy to understand for our clients. So, I probably have more to say in this, but probably at this stage, I'd bring in Alan, because I think the fixed fee versus trail thing is kind of what Dan was trying to get at. So Alan, be very interested in your in your views.
God, yeah, as you say, huge subject. I want to just simplify it all. I used to be much more evangelical about this. I used to be quite loud and vociferous about it. Yeah, look at them all nodding their heads for those who
used to be
listening. Yeah, no, I'm a bit sort of calmer on it now. But let me just address Dan's point first of all about initial fees and onboarding. That's just a commercial decision for any business. You decide if it is creating. The starting point is everything should be value for money. As Nick said before, value for money is determined by the customer and the client, not necessarily by you. If you are losing out on business and clients are not engaging with you because you charge an initial fee, then you might want to reflect on it. You might want to minimize it or remove it completely. And we've gone, as you say, all of us who are thoughtful business owners, we're always kind of reflecting on this and maybe adapting and changing it. And we've gone from charging initial fees, and for some years we charged nothing pretty much to anyone. And then we reflect on that. We think we're leaving a lot of revenue on the table here because there isn't much resistance. If you're delivering a high quality service, professional implementation of building the plan and professional implementation, I think, first of all, it costs us a lot of time and resource and energy to do that. And so why wouldn't we be compensated for it? We don't. Where I have an issue is where, and it is the standard, and look, we're not all everyone on this podcast are more thoughtful. I know you are. But to default to say we charge 3% of your investments to implement and 1% a year or whatever it is, which seems to be a sort of broad default in a marketplace, I think that's wrong, because there's a big difference between a client who's just, I don't know, they've sold their house or they've sold a business, they've got £1 million in cash, implementing that versus a whole series of sort of complex pension products, trusts, offshore, or whatever you want to call it, and charging a sort of same fee. So, and I think, and linking this to the previous subject of consumer duty, if this is forcing businesses, which are just a bit complacent, frankly, in my opinion, we just charge the same fee to everyone regardless, which that means there's winners and losers. It means the client with very simplistic needs and requirements is paying a premium in order to cross-subsidize the client with huge complexity who's paying the same fee, sometimes less fee, to do that piece of work. So the initial fee, I think, is a business decision, a personal decision, and I can see a lot of justification in just eliminating it, not paying it at all, because you're interested in the next 10 years of revenue from the client. If that provides a real road bump against you winning that, then minimize it or eliminate it. I would say specifically on that point, we have one client in the last couple of years from, and they've got a couple of mentions on this episode, from St. James's Place. And these clients have already been rinsed once. They've already paid big initial fees or exit fees or something. And we've just taken a view, we're not going to double down on that. We're going to sort of take that on the chin ourselves because of those circumstances and just because we want to bring them into our environment. So I think that you can do it on a client-by-client basis, or you can have a company decision. Now, the bigger question is about the percentage charge versus the flat fee. And my views are well documented on it. Everyone on this podcast believes that the real value in what we do is in planning. It's in coaching. It's in project management. It's in being a sounding board. It's being all those good things. It's not in money management. We all, I believe, have got world-class investment propositions, portfolio management propositions. But Carl, just to come back to you on that point, the fact that the market goes up, down, sideways has got nothing to do with you. As you know, you have got no control of the global capital markets. So why are you being rewarded when they go up, and why are you being penalized when they go down? What is the product? What is the service that you deliver to your customer? You know what it is. The clue is in the title of the podcast. It's in real planning. And so that doesn't change. You still show up every day or every week and deliver that. And so we're now in our 7th or 8th year of doing flat fee retainers. And to answer, go back to the original question that Dan has posed, we're one of the few companies, there's still very few who operate in this way, but we've proved that you can survive. You can operate on this basis. We've learned a lot of lessons about how you position it, because I can tell you behaviorally and the way that people think, a £5,000 fee just sounds a lot more than 0.5% or 1% or whatever it is. I've got numerous examples. I won't share them now in the interest of time, but where clients have really pushed back on that. Our fee was actually less in pounds and pence than they were currently paying, but they've said, "Oh, that's a bit expensive," because there's some cognitive blind spot that people have got between pounds and pence and basis points. And that's one of the reasons that the industry has thrived so much on the percentage charge. That's okay. Over to you, Nick.
Well, I don't know if Andy wants to chip in or not. We've given this quite a good go. Andy?
Isn't this the meat of the show, Nick? Shouldn't we be unpacking this in a bit more detail? Or? Okay, fine. I'll get on my soapbox for a little bit. A lot of people are very evangelical about this. And when they do talk about it, they, I think, incorrectly put too much emphasis on the fee model itself with its level of high or low integrity, when I think it should be actually on the advisor way more than the actual fee model that they charge. But to directly answer Dan's question, fees can be split into ongoing fees or initial fees. And again, we all know this, but I'll just explain it in a little bit more detail the way I see it. So the ongoing fees, the most common way of charging is a percentage of assets. I believe this is probably circa or 95% of the financial advisor market, 99 point whatever percent of the investment management market. They all charge an ad valorem fee. So it's a beast, and it's not going to go away overnight as such. We talk about flat and fixed fees. I think it's not correctly framed. I think it should be agreed fees. They're certainly not flat because they're different for every different client. They're certainly not fixed because they change. So I think we should be calling them agreed fees. Then it's a little bit more clearer for the clients. And then you've got hourly charging. Shoot me now. Nobody wants to be charged on an hourly basis. Anybody who's had extensive experience with lawyers will concur what I say there. Move on from that. My lawyer charged me £31 plus VAT to read an email of me saying thanks for being courteous.
an email saying, don't send me any more invoices, he charged you.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about the ongoing fees in a second, maybe, if people want to talk about it. The next place is the initial fees, and a few people have alluded to Carl and Alan. So initial fees are either a percentage of assets, like Alan said, 3%, 1%, 0.5%, or a project fee, so a fixed fee. That I think is correct. It is a fixed fee. Or a hybrid. So I see this hybrid model being sort of discussed with quite a few people, where very simplistically we charge £99 a month standing order plus 0.5% fee, or £299 a month plus 0.4% on the investment aspect. I believe that probably is the fairest and cleanest way of doing this, because then your wealthier clients do pay proportionately a slightly more expensive fee, but not widely. The whole saying is someone that's got £1 million versus £100,000 10 times more work, because that's the fee discrepancy. Again, we could argue about that all day. Alan spoke about it. Humans are full of emotions, and the placebo effect is real. And high friction, low friction of fees, which I think it's. And I'm also agreeing with Carl's point. It is aligned. When it goes up, we do better. When it goes down, we do worse. I haven't got a problem with that, because at the end of the day, we are in the wealth creation business. And again, we shy away from the fact that we do create wealth for our clients. My niche is...
Can I just interject and just ask you a question there, but just specifically on that point. So ignore the markets. You get a client who then goes into, if you ignore market fluctuations, it goes up and down. Generally, as we all know, it goes up 3 years out of 4. But what about in clients in decumulation? What about clients who say, I want to take a big chunk of money out and buy a second holiday home in the south of France, or I want to give my kids a property? All that stuff. So you take a haircut on your fee.
I definitely take a haircut on my fee. But remember, I said focus on the advisor with the integrity, not the fee model. So if the advisor's got integrity, I would discuss that with them, completely irrelevant to what I'm going to lose in terms of my income. If I'm looking after £500,000 for a client, and
I have a solution. I have a solution on that. So what we do is we have a tiered approach to the trail. So it's a 0.5% on €1 million or more. It's 0.75 between 500 and $1 million. So, like, if the financial plan, if someone's goals, dreams, or aspirations say, I want to buy a holiday home in the south of France, we go, let's go and do it.
Brilliant.
Let's get that money out, right? Fantastic. By the way, Mr. Client and Mrs. Client, your assets under management with Metis Ireland at the moment are now, they're gone from 1.3 to 800,000. Your fee, unfortunately, is going to increase. However, through market growth over a period of time, we would expect it to go beyond $1 million, and we will therefore reduce the fee at that stage. So we're not, it's not like we ever have a conflict of interest where we're going, please don't buy the house, right? And I have any number of examples where we've celebrated wildly that clients have been in a position to be able to see their plans through.
Right. So I'll play devil's advocate on that then. So that's fine. I expect
there
nothing
is a conflict
else
of interest.
But that means that your client who didn't buy the holiday home is now cross-subsidizing, because you've still got costs and fees to pay to run your operation. So they're now paying more proportionately than your client who bought the holiday home and help their kids on a property ladder. That's just that's a statement of fact. It is. You just look at they're paying more. There's more revenue that client is paying to you who didn't do those other things, just chose to have more money managed with you.
And probably more complexity, but
maybe.
But what I would say is we do charge upfront fees, right? And we have trail fees, and they're higher the lower assets you have. So I'm very comfortable that I don't think there are any perfect models, by the way. And I think anybody claiming to say that they have a
there's not.
model.
No, definitely not.
So,
what about your
deceived.
client who's got 10 million euros in assets, but most of it is in property and their business and a bunch of other things, and they've got a small amount with you, but you're doing a huge amount of planning, a huge amount of value add, but you have got less retail investment money managed by you.
So we will charge that client up to €3,000 for the plan each year.
Mm-hmm.
That's
also in our.
It doesn't matter how you skin the cat, as long as you skin the cat.
Yeah, that's also in our charging structure on our website.
That's okay, fine, as it should be. I've got just three quick points, and then we can go back to it. If you want to keep on talking about it, that's fine. This thing about if you charge a percentage fee, how come you charge 1% on one person who's got £10 million and 1% on somebody who's got £1 million? It depends what you're saying your fee is for, and how you're trying to sell your value for the client to determine whether you have got value. If you're selling your value on behavioural counselling, from not making the big mistake, you're going to save the person with the bigger pot of money from making a mistake that would cost way more than the person with the smaller pot of money. Hence, your fee is commensurately bigger because you're creating a bigger and preserving a bigger slice of wealth for them and for their children. That's the answer to that one. I too have a tiered approach. It is difficult if clients want to disinvest and you're on a flat 1% or whatever it is across the board. And I think you guys know I've got a really steep tier because it's my kind of, and I adopted this back in 2008. I thought I can see this being a problem. And so my fee drops off dramatically over £500,000 because you get clients in, we're selling dreams, right? We're selling lifestyles, and clients are therefore going to say, hold on, I've got this dream of buying this holiday home in the Dordogne or this speedboat, whatever it might be. And I know we've got the funds to get that, Nick, because you've helped us get these funds together. And you want to be in a position, as Andy said, where there is very little conflict, if any. And you say, yeah, fine, go ahead and do it. So a tiered approach does help with that. But if you really don't want to lose the revenue, just do a new plan and say you can't afford it. That'd be my argument. Just, lie to the clients. The last one was a joke. There is no perfect fee model. I think as long as the clients know what they're paying, right, and they can determine value or not. I think Dan made an interesting point in his question, without perhaps knowing it. Why bother with initial fees when the long-term planning fees are more important to the business? The long-term planning is more important to the client. It's the long-term planning where the value is added, in my understanding of the value chain. So I don't charge initial fees. I do charge the ongoing planning. The financial plan is dead. It's almost stillborn, right? As soon as the client walks out of the office, something happens to her life that changes the financial plan. The ongoing planning, where you just change and you do the nuances year on year to get the clients to their destination, that's where the value is. And so definitely that's where I think our fee focus should be on. But interesting as well, I think Alan might have mentioned a consumer duty. I don't have any initial fees. I have no exit penalties. It's ultra clean. The client comes on board, clean. If they want to go and leave at any time, get out. There's no cost to you to go doing so. You're not locked into anything. It's just very easy to articulate that to a client so they just understand exactly what they're paying and how much it is. That's what I think. Anybody else want to wrap a bow on this one?
I'll wrap a quick bow on, and I think this is all well said. I think you've all made good points. But the one thing, because I've been noisy about this over the past few years, I do get quite a number of emails and contacts and stuff from various advisors because it remains a big subject for most people, most firms, and a lot of firms who are sort of new startup companies, and they want to get the most. And you're right, there is no optimum fee structure. There's a load of mistakes we've made on a flat fee retainer model. I do things differently for time and time again. But I get quite a lot of people asking me about it. There's a resource that I can point you to. I did a thing with Lee Robertson, who's a friend to the podcast, on his Octo platform last year. I did a sort of 1 hour webinar type thing that I just unpacked all the stuff, everything I've ever thought about via a fee model structure, what we did, how we priced it. If anyone really wants to have a deep dive on that, jump over to Lee's Octo platform, Octo members, and just sort of search for that thing that I did a year ago or 9 months ago. That's it.
Just final point on this, Nick. There's a good friend of all of ours, we're not going to mention his name, but he famously set up a fixed fee business to lots of fanfare and was very, very vocal about it. And then I can't remember exactly how many years in, but he switched to the ad valorem model, and I've given it away there. He's one of the happiest advisors I know now. And I don't think he's going to be switching back to agreed fees. Can we all call it agreed fees? Thank you very much. Over to you, Nick.
No, yeah, because Andy's decided he doesn't like a word, so we must now use the new.
A percentage charge is an agreed fee as well. You call it a subscription. It's a subscription fee, is what it is. Like Netflix. I like that. I'm all right with that.
I'm all right with that. Yeah. It's not flat. It's not fixed.
No. Subscription.
Right. Are we done?
Yes.
Dan Weston, you owe us all a drink, my friend.
Again.
Okay, let's move on to the next segment of the show because Tempest is fugiting as we speak. A couple of questions from our beloved Trappists. Excuse me, fighting the lurgy that I got from Mr. Smith before Christmas, the gift that keeps on giving.
Stop kissing me.
Chris Thompson he's not on Twitter, which is probably to your credit. Global equities are the place to be for long-term growth, and money dies. Trademark Nick Lincoln. Money dies in cash and bonds. So interested to know how you guys approach clients in decumulation with 30 years of retirement ahead of them, where sequence risk comes into play. I'll go first if that's okay. I'll be brief, and then somebody else wants to be brief. That's fine, but let's not talk for the sake of it. Bucketing. you're bucketing. You have whatever your 12 months living expenses in cash, or a short-dated global bond fund, and when the fourth year out of 4 comes, when the markets decline, and if the client hasn't got sufficient fat on their portfolio from the years of growth beforehand, then you dip into the bucket, okay, where the cash is dying for the long term, but it's there for you for the short term. 1 or 2 years worth of living expenses, minus state pension, rental income, final salary. In that bucket, you lean on that when the market goes through a temporary decline. If that gets exhausted, the market should be through the worst of it. As ever, it's art, not science, man. You can have all your lovely graphs and programs that simulate 100 years of past performance. All you're doing is simulating past performance. We don't know what the future holds, but we have a clue, right? That's how I get the decumulation quandary sorted for my clients, and that's how I will handle it myself when I enter retirement. If I enter retirement, gents, any other views on that?
That's why financial planning is a process. So you got to review it every year, make sure you have enough cash in that bucket, and drive on. Fully agree, Nick.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. What it isn't is using some sort of smooth fund, but let's not go down there. Okay, Martyn Sale. Martyn spelled with a Y, but we won't hold that against you. There are some of you out there had cruel parents. All your life you're saying no, Martyn to the person on the phone. Martyn Sales, not on Twitter again. Martyn, and this is a good question, Carl. You made a point. This could be a subject for a whole next episode, but I will. Let's get it out there. To all of you, I'd love to hear how you grew your businesses at the beginning of the journey. In particular, your approach to acquiring new clients. The podcast is fantastic, and I've already picked up so much from you all. Thank you, Martyn. You're sharing your experience and knowledge is invaluable to those starting out in the profession. Thank you for your efforts. Wow, that's lovely. That does mean that it does mean so much when we get feedback. Nearly all of the feedback we have is positive. Thank you. So, okay, one of you guys, how did you approach acquiring new
Nick,
clients?
I agree with Carl. I think we should do next episode. It's come up consistently, time after time. Let's do a deep dive rather than give it a 2-minute summary, because I think it's such a regular question, particularly for those starting businesses, that we should do a 20-minute, 30-minute segment on it.
I think we have addressed it, but let's do it as a whole show. Yeah, if you wish to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say, just on that point, just related to this overall, I've had a couple of contacts over the holiday period, via LinkedIn, and people have asked me a couple of questions, and there were questions that have been raised on this podcast before, so I've pointed them in the direction of the pod. And I would say, I know it's asked, but it's on a kind of recorded message every time we have this podcast. But having if people are getting value from it, then honestly, go on to unfortunately it is at the Apple podcast platform that dominates the market. So giving a review on that, the whole algorithm works, and so therefore the message gets spread more. But anyone who's listening to this, do us all a favor and spread give us a 5-star review, write up something, but also send a link to other friends and colleagues, because often we've already talked about the subject and you get asked a specific question. You say, well, no, I've had a 30-minute segue on this in the past. So just raising that thing, people should be doing their best to spread the word about this pod.
What a marketeer. The answer to the question is leave us a review.
Well, because we've already done it before, but people haven't found it.
Yeah,
but we can do it again. We can do it again.
The reason I think we should do an episode on it is that when I reflect how I got clients at the start and the middle and now is probably different.
Night and day.
To explore that journey as you go, because people will be on.
Maybe what we'll do is then,
paths.
if we do that as a whole episode, the next episode perhaps we'll do. One of us will handle how we started getting clients at the start. Somebody else can do when we started to mature, how do we change? And now that the third person can be, or fourth person, now that we've got a mature business, what's our approach now? Because they're definitely different approaches, right? They are definitely, when you're starting out, you're more of a hunter, right? You've got to be more of a hunter. Your filters are going to be a little bit down because you just need to take clients on board. As you get more mature, in quotes, as you get older, you'll change your approach perhaps. So that's a really good point. Okay. I think we've done the 2 great questions from Chris and Martyn with a Y. My heart goes out to you. Let's, what we laughingly call Culture Corner. Let's transition to that. Okay. So, Mr. Smith, we'll start off with you. You have come across something called Optimize.
Yes, I have. So one of the things, I know that my fellow hosts on this podcast and many other of the listeners, one thing that we have in common is that we like to learn. So we are consistently, reading books, listening to podcasts, blah, 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 all that stuff. And so, but the challenge we've got is this like, drinking from the fire hose. There's such a torrent of new books, new ideas, and there isn't enough time in the day to consume them all. So this thing is called, it's an app, and we put a link to it in the show notes. It's called Optimize with Brian Johnson. And I came across it. He was charging £100 a year for this app. It's now free. So every great book you've ever thought about or heard about or read or haven't read but haven't had the time to do, he creates a summary, which is a written summary, which is it's got a PDF format, which you can read or download, or there's a short form video, which is like up to a 15-minute video. If you wanted to, read whatever it is, Atomic Habits or The Psychology of Money or any of these books over the years, but you just feel you haven't got enough time, give it 15 minutes and you'll get, I've often thought, I've read books in the past, it's taken me, I'm quite a slow reader, it takes me quite a long time to consume them. I thought, that's the 3 bullet points, that could be summarized quite quickly. And so I think it's great. I think it's a free app. And if you're into learning and personal development, then Optimize is what it's called. I put a link to it. Before we move on, Nick, to the next part.
I've literally downloaded it now, Alan. Thank you. That sounds amazing.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Really is good. But I want to, before we move on to the next, to just mention something we forgot to mention earlier on, and it's a current issue that is live, and I would like to encourage the listeners who it's relevant to do something about this. You might have picked up over the festive season that there's a current spat going on. There's a bit of a coup d'etat going on in the sort of in the kind of professional services space right now in terms of the PFS, which I think the 3 of us in the UK are members of, is currently going through a challenging period of time where it's effectively its parent organization, the CII, Chartered Insurance Institute, is kind of attempting a bit of a takeover. It sounds like there's a lot of money at stake, there's a lot of control at stake, and there's a lot of activity that's gone on, which is questionable, shall we say. And I would encourage everyone, and again, I'll put a link in the show notes to those who are interested in this to go on and give your support via, it's called rpfs.com or .co.uk, again, link in the show notes, to give support and show some resistance as part of the PFS, the Personal Finance Society, against what is, it's a coup that's going on. Without going into detail on this podcast, it's worth showing some support for those that are trying to protect the integrity of our main kind of body that we're subscribed to and are members of. So I wanted to say that before we wrap up.
Thank you.
That's it.
Good point. Thank you. Carl, your culture corner point is Surrender by Bono. I presume you mean the lead singer guy with that band.
Which band, Nick? Yeah, U2.
UB40 begins with a U. U2.
Yeah. So Alan said that he struggles reading books, or he's a slow reader. I am also. So therefore, I do most of my consuming of books via Audible, as I've mentioned before. And sometimes the Audible books just get a bit boring. I think the one that the book that I found most interesting but most boring because of the way it was being read was. I think it's Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Is that the one? Anyway, Great book. But by the end of it, I was like, I was ready to throttle the guy reading out the book.
You're ready to fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but Surrender is read by Bono. And I think it's the way all Audible books should be done, right? Because, I'm only halfway through a 20-hour book now at the moment, right? And the first half is obviously all the early U2 stuff, which I was into as a teenager, still love it, know all the songs. And he talks about how the songs were developed. But he sings parts of the songs, and he's clips from interviews. And it is so interesting. It is such an enjoyable listen. And I think I'd love to see or hear or listen to an awful lot more Audible books whereby there is more media involved in it, because obviously the technology is there and it just makes it just such a wonderful listen. It is, parts of it are a little bit meh, but hey, you're going to get that in a 20-hour book, aren't you? But absolutely, I'm loving it. So if you're into U2's music at all, have a listen. Even if you're not, I would recommend it. I think it's really well put together, and hopefully the future of audio books.
Okay, good points. And Mr. Hart, you've got Pack Point Trip It.
Yeah, this is just an app recommendation. You open up the app, you tell it where you're going, when you're going, and what type of activity it is and what you're going to be doing whilst abroad, and it creates you a holiday packing list. It's all very boring, but I'm sure some people out there will be interested in it. That's it.
How does it know what you need to pack?
Well, you say, I'm going skiing, I'm going swimming, I want smartwear, I'm doing that, and then it produces the packing list.
Nick, that's back into your breathing in and out.
AI stands for anal intelligence.
Because everyone goes on holiday with everything perfectly packed.
Yeah, I do, because I've got a packing list that I've created over the years in Keep, and I use it every time I go abroad. And I check this off.
Pack Point, people, download it before it runs out.
Pack Point. That's it.
Pack Point.
Right. Okay, I've got a culture corner part. It's a TV thing. I don't watch much TV for reasons I'll come on to in a second. White Lotus. Just watched season 2. The first season was excellent. The second season, for once, was at least as good as the first. So check that out. It's a dark comedy set in luxury hotels around the world. This season was set in Sicily. It's like a love poem to Sicily. Sicily dominates the beautiful, tragic island of Sicily, the scenery and everything. But it's great. White Lotus, well worth watching. Something not worth watching is Glass Onion, which appears to be the movie du jour. Absolute shite. And Penny and I now we're quite good now. I read something 2 years ago. It's one of the people that we all follow, I think, said if you're reading a book and you're just not into it after 20 minutes, half an hour, throw it away. And go on to the next book. Don't worry about the sunk cost of the 20 minutes you've lost. Life's too short. You won't enjoy that book and pick up a new book. And now with TV, Penny and I sit down on those days when we're talking to each other and we try and watch something. And you can intuit within the first 30 seconds, if not the first 5 minutes, whether something's going to be good, regardless of the reviews. You get the camera angle is going to be rubbish. The script is going to be clunky. Glass Onion had Daniel Craig playing an American. I mean, there are 368 million Americans. Why do we need James Bond speaking in this cod-awful American accent? So Glass Onion,
it's very good American knowledge there, Nick. Well done.
Thank you, my fella. Thank you. I've got an app. It's called How Big is the Population of the US?
What does it do?
It tells you what to pack when you're going. It tells you what to pack when you're going travelling in the US. It's a combination of two other apps. It's a game changer. Android. That's what you say. Okay. Wow,
we're finally giving people a sense of what happens in our WhatsApp group.
No,
let's not
please.
go there. Let's not go there. Listen, we're 1 hour, best part of an hour and a quarter in, so I think we should wrap this up. It's been a great show. Lovely to see you guys again. Trappists, as Alan alluded to, please do leave a review on iTunes if you can, and also leave a review or like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is burgeoning. Everything is good. I think that is it done. I think we've agreed for the next episode we will be discussing client acquisition through the different stages of a business, how you start and how you do it once you're mature. That would be quite interesting. Get the questions into us on the Trappist form. Everything is in the show notes. Everything is just made for you just to like us and subscribe to us and share us with your peers in your office. This is for everybody in the advice chain. Should get some value from what we're doing, hopefully. And the more you tell us what you like and don't like, the more we can curate and cultivate the show, because it's organic. It's you, the listener, that drives us as much as us four idiots talking all the time. I've talked all the time again. Are we done, guys? I think we are. Brilliant. See you next time, yeah?
See you next time.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Great.